Day of the Market Analyser 7 platform. Today we're going to take a look at the charting in a little bit more detail and go into some tricks and tips that you may or may not be aware of with the charting. The charting that we're looking at here, the D2MX charts, have been brought over exactly from the Market Analyser Pro or the Market Analyser version 6 that you were using previously. So the charting should be pretty familiar to you. As we go through today's presentation, please feel free to ask questions. My name's Jeff Cartridge and I'll be running the presentation today, and the questions pop up on my screen when you put them through. So I can see those questions that you've typed in, and then I can address the questions as we go through. The structure of the presentation will have around about 20-minute presentation on some of the more advanced tools that you can use with the charting package. And then we'll go into a free-for-all discussion where you can ask questions on any aspect of the program. So if you can keep your questions focused on the charting and what we're talking about for the first part, and then the second part you can ask questions on any topic that you choose. We're going to go through and have a look at the advanced charting today, and this webinar will be recorded, so there will be a copy available for you on the internet to view at a later date as well. It'll be put up on the Trader Dealer blog, and the previous presentations are also there. Currently, the support team are available on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings until 9 p.m. That's Melbourne time, so Australian Eastern Standard Time. So they're there till 9 p.m. right throughout April. So as you're getting used to the program, if you've got any questions, please feel free to give the customer support a call on 1300 363 766, and those late hours again Tuesday and Wednesday until 9 p.m. So what we're going to do is take a look at some of the little tips and tricks of taking your charting a step further than what you've currently got set up. One of the first things we're going to have a look at is setting up a custom key. And what we can do from this, if we right-click on any share, we get to broadcast that share, and then that share populates the charts that we have open, the watch lists, any windows that we have open will be updated with that information for that share. But a little trick that you can do is set that up to broadcast off the push of a button on your computer. And we're going to, for this example, set up the F2 key. So instead of having to right-click broadcast to see the information, we're going to change it so that you just have to left click on and then push the key on the keyboard, and that will broadcast that the code throughout the platform and all the windows that you have open. So if you have multiple charts, and we'll just open up another chart, right click D2MX charts, and we'll pop that up in this corner and change it to Intraday. Then when I right click and broadcast, both charts will be updated with that latest information. But how we're going to do is set up a custom key. Now you can set up custom keys to bring up market depth or charts or anything you like, but we're going to show you how to set up one to broadcast the information today. Go into User, go down to Custom Keys, click on Custom Keys, and then we'll go down the list on the right to find the Broadcast button. And we keep on going down, and there's Broadcast there. Click on Broadcast and click Edit. Now it's asking what key do you want to bring up the broadcast function. If you now push F2 on the keyboard, it will automatically put in F2 and tell it OK. OK again. And now all we've got to do to broadcast through the platform is click on the share and press F2 on my keyboard, and everything is updated. So rather than right-clicking and clicking broadcast, you now have another way of doing that, is click on the share, ANZ, F2, and it will broadcast ANZ through the platform. So that way you can update any of the charts that you have open using that broadcast function. and the user keys allow you to do it with the F2 key rather than using the right-click broadcast, which you can use otherwise. Now moving on from that, I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that you can right-click on a chart and you've got the chart properties in there. And this is very similar to what you've been doing for many years with the previous program. But one thing you can do here, which you may or may not have played with, is you can actually alter the color of individual charts. So in this case, I've changed the background to blue, and this chart here is now blue, whereas the one down the left is grey. So it is possible to customize my screen and set it up with different backgrounds, with different color schemes, so that I can instantly identify that, hey, blue is my intraday chart and the grey is my daily chart. And I could have multiple screens with different color schemes if I choose. So this is one way you can take it a little bit further with customizing your layout. Remembering to keep that layout, go up into Window and save your layout to retain the current layout. The other one, we'll just have a mention while we're talking in chart properties. There's a couple of things you may or may not have been aware of. The intraday charting periods, you can set up the time period that you're looking at here, and that would have been widely used. There's also an intraday cap on. Now the cap only loads 14 days, which is the one underneath, of data. You can remove that cap, and that way it would load all the historical data available. The only thing with doing this, be aware that it will take a little longer to load the share times because you're pulling in more information to load. But you can take off the intraday cap, and you can also take off a daily cap. So if you're looking at daily charts, you can remove the daily cap, which at the moment is set at 60 months. Now for most people 60 months is more than adequate, but if you're wanting to look further back, you can remove the caps here, which allow you to go further back in time. We'll tell it OK on that one, and now we'll have more data loaded. We scroll out for ANZ. We go back almost 2 weeks, over 2 weeks now, rather than the 5 days from before. The other thing in that chart properties, right-click chart properties, was the show non-trading days. Now, most people prefer that the non-trading days aren't visible, but you do have the option to do that. For example, Easter, we had the non-trading days through there, and we'll change to daily, and we can now see there's dashes in place for where the market didn't trade on those particular days. So you'll see all the weekends. You'll also see the holidays such as Easter with an extended row of 4 dashes here. So this is something that you can use if you choose, is actually having a look at the non-trading days. One thing it does do though is it plays havoc with indicators, because the indicators get stretched out over those days and effectively no information. So if you're applying indicators, it's better to have it turned off, but if you're wanting to just view the chart and what days the market didn't trade, then you can use that. A question from Suzanne, can we change the color of market depth? At the moment you can't do that, so it's not possible to change market depth color. It's something that we are discussing with Iris. It's something that's on the list of being able to customize the color scheme. So Suzanne, just that you can alter the charts at present, but you can't alter the Iris piece of it with the actual color scheme of the layout at this stage. But it is something we're aware of. Jason, you're having problems with the custom key. Just give the customer help team a call on that one, and they'll be able to help you with that custom key idea and step you through what's going on and identify what the problem is. So just try that. You just push the F2 key, so you don't type in F2. Just when you get the window up, push the F2. And we come back in here, User, Custom Keys, and we'll edit just depth, for example. You can't type in here, but you can press the F function keys, F2 or F3 for this, and it will automatically put that in. So I didn't type that in, I pushed the F3 key. Tell it OK, and OK again. Now F3 will bring up market depth. And I'll click on a share, F3, and there's the market depth for that share. Yeah, Elizabeth got a couple of questions on the range tool and the GAN tools. We can actually have a look at those and touch on those in today's presentation, so I'll come back to those ones. Question from Brian, how do you display the traded price histogram on the right-hand side of the chart? The picture functionality that was available in the previous Market Analyser, which showed the depth and the levels where the buyers and sellers were in a visual display, is not currently available in the program here. And it's the same with that displaying the traded price histogram on the right-hand side of the chart. It's not currently available. So that's something that we'll have to have a look at. We're aware of the picture one, and certainly having a look at that that particular idea, but I haven't, that other one as far as the right hand side of the chart is something I'm not so aware of. Kirsty, a question on the manual that came with the original package. What we've got is we've got a series of cheat sheets, if you like, a series of guides to using the new program, and also the blog has a lot of information on there as well. At this stage, there's not a full manual for all the aspects of it, but it's something that we're looking to put together over the next while. So coming back into our charts, I want to have a look at some of the tools in the charts that you may not or may not have actually had to deal with at this stage. Just in your standard indicators here, there are some that are less often used than others, and we'll have a look at a couple of these today. Most of these are relative performance, so what we're looking at when we look at a share is what's called the absolute performance. Is the price up or down? But what we can do is take a look at the relative performance using what's known as a pair chart. Now you can trade pairs by buying one and selling another company, and that's what's known as a pairs trade. It then is market independent. Whether the market moves up or down becomes irrelevant. It's only a matter of which one share moves up or down faster than the other. So we've got ANZ up here, and if we wanted to compare ANZ to Westpac, we just type in Westpac and tell it OK. And at the bottom of the screen here, we've got the pairs chart displayed. Now, from the beginning of March through to the end of April, the market was going up, but more importantly, ANZ would have been outperforming Westpac during that time. And what we're seeing now is as ANZ comes off, is ANZ is actually underperforming Westpac, so it's falling faster than so this pairs line is dropping rather than climbing. It is possible for the share price to go down and for ANZ to outperform, as it does over on the left-hand side of the screen. So here we've got the share price going down in November through late November, early December, and yet ANZ was outperforming Westpac during that time. Here, when it's rising, ANZ's been outperforming Westpac, and now it's underperforming. The pairs chart's coming down. So it's the relative performance of two shares rather than the absolute performance, looking at whether a share's up or down. If you're using something like a CFD, you can buy ANZ in that similar dollar amount as you sell Westpac. And by buying ANZ in a similar dollar amount and selling Westpac, then you benefit from the difference in performance. Because you've got one position long the market and one position short the market, then in those situations what you've got is you've got a net zero exposure to what the market does. So if the market's up or down becomes almost irrelevant. It's only whether Westpac is up or down relative to ANZ that's important. And the pairs chart allows you to see this relative performance of one company versus another. You can also use it to do the relative performance versus the market as a whole. Good example of this at the moment, if we take a look at BHP, and with the pairs chart on BHP, we apply that, and type in XJO, that one. Just remove. So what we can do is, using the overlay security, we can type in here XJO and we can see the relative performance of the two. So here we type in XJO and tell it OK. And now we've got the XJO plotted on top of the security. And what we've seen recently is that BHP has been severely underperforming the index. The banks have been pretty strong and holding the index up while BHP has dropped away. So this relative performance can be seen using the overlay chart. And you can overlay two securities. We can put Westpac on top of ANZ, or we can put BHP on top of Rio, but we can also put any share relative to the market. Just remove that off the fan. So remove that. Now, if we want to apply this as a template, we can right-click and save it as a new template. We can call it the overlay chart and tell it OK. And now we have done here our overlay. Now we've got this as a template, the overlay chart. There it is. We can apply this onto any share that we're looking at. So we can have a look at CBA and see that CBA has been moving in line with the market, whereas BHP certainly wasn't. We look at Rio. Rio's been underperforming the market through here. Not as badly as BHP. ANZ, slight underperformance, but slightly outperforming the market itself. ANZ's been doing slightly better than the market through there. So these are things that we can see the relative performance of one versus another using either the overlay or the pairs chart. So those are some of the information that we can pick up from there. Another one that very few people will actually have been using. Question from Brian: how do you change the scale and the starting point of the second chart? The scale and starting point are selected automatically, so they're not. You cannot edit them to a certain to another setup. So the starting point of this and that are automatically determined. So based on the data that you've got loaded. Okay, so moving on from there, we're going to take a question on the GAN tools. Now, I'm not a big proponent of GAN, so I'm not going to be giving a webinar on GAN and exactly how it works. But the tools are included in the package, so for those that are into GAN, then the tools are a part of the package that we're looking at today. So what we've got up here is the various different GAN tools that are available. The GAN square of 9, apply it through there, and once it's applied, you right click and go into the properties, right click on it and go into the square of 9 properties. Now you will have to adjust the factor because everything is now in cents, not dollars, and the default will be for that. So bringing it up by 100, you get your square of 9 lines drawn on the chart. And the interpretation of these, as I said, it's not something that I use, but the tools are here if you actually choose to use them. So that's the square of 9. We'll remove that one. Also got in here the GAN fan. You select a range, holding down your left mouse, and it draws the fan. And again, you can adjust the properties to various factor here to change the parameters within the fan. So for 2 to 1, and that's the ratios through there. And the other GAN tools in there, just remove that one. GAN square by price, and it will draw the GAN square there. And the natural square also. So all of these GAN tools are available within the package. And as I said, as far as the interpretation of them goes, that's beyond what I understand. It's not the tool that I use. But the tools are available for you to use within here. Yeah, Udo, when I add a custom index, appears in a separate window at the bottom of the chart. That's exactly what should happen. And for whatever reason, it's working on Steve's computer, it's working on your computer, but for some reason it doesn't want to appear on mine. So we'll give it one more go, shall we? See if it comes up. PHP, CBA. Make sure we've got the semicolon between them. Yeah, for some reason it's not calculating it. It does appear down the bottom here, but the line's not calculating. Custom index properties. Okay, so one other tool we're going to take a look at is the MDS pre-alerts that are part of the package as well. Now the pre-alerts in here have been developed by, been part of the package for a while, but they're actually really powerful tools because they're developed to pick up certain criteria that occur. So what we do is click on Accumulation Indicator, and what we're looking at here is a drop. So we're looking for a share price that has dropped over a period of time, and then we're looking for an increase in volume. And that increase in volume suggests that we might be approaching a turnaround in the share price. So we can adjust any of these parameters. It's set at 30 days, 3% drop over 30 days, and then a volume increase of 1 times there and tell it OK. And what that will do is apply the indicators onto the chart. Oops. So we can apply the accumulation indicator, tell it OK, standard parameters, and it appears as dots at the bottom of the chart. I'll turn on the volume. See the volume, share prices drop down through here, and there's been a massive volume increase through here, which is where the accumulation index has triggered. Another fall through here, and again the volume is up, it's an increase through here, so the accumulation indicator has indicated buying back into the share. And a good rally out of the second one, and certainly a turnaround out of the first one. So the accumulation indicator, very powerful indicator for identifying turning points after a share has had a drop or a pullback. The other one we've got is the distribution indicator, which is essentially the reverse. We're looking for a rise in price and then a large volume after that rise in price. So as the price is headed up, we're looking for an increase in volume. Now that increase in volume can mean one of two things. In a very strong market, it can actually be indicating a breakout, a break higher. But in a market that's not so strong, if the market is overall weak, then the distribution is a sign of selling. It's a blow-off. There's that massive volume increase at the top as many people are getting out of the share, and the share pulls back from there. So the distribution here marks quite nicely the turning point there, and just recently, and also picks it up quite nicely back through in November there. So these are the things to actually be aware of, and are very useful indicators just to apply to your charts when you're monitoring a share to identify that volume increase after a drop or after a rise. Both of them can be indicate that a turning point is close at hand. The other one in the conductor indicator is more of a short-term indicator. So we'll look at both up and down trends. Click OK, and it marks short-term turning points in the share. So it picks it up in here, the conductors picks up the turn up, and then here a turn down. So a very short-term trading tool, not designed for the bigger trends. If the trend develops, that's okay, but it's designed for very short-term turns, and that's what the conductor index is looking at. So keep an eye on the conductor if you're a short-term trader, but the accumulation distribution works better for sort of an end-of-day or position trader as well. The open channel indicator will identify where there is an open channel. Now I'll just remove some of these, go to the conductor, and let's see if we've got an example in here. The channel indicator picks out a share when it's in a range and identifies when it's near the bottom of that range and about to turn up. Hasn't met any of the criteria. And this here, over a 34 period, we'll cut it down to 14 periods and see if it highlights. So nothing highlighted, isn't meeting the actual criteria for that. But essentially it picks up an open channel and picks up when it's turning around in that channel and likely to move higher from there. The last one in the pre-alerts, or two more, retracement indicator. The retracement indicator picks out the retracement and essentially looking for when a share retraces 50% of a previous move. So we'll put that on. And we're looking for a pullback in the share price. So there's the move up off the low there, and we get a pullback of 50%. There's our signal to go long at that point. And it picked up the continuation of that rally quite nicely. Again, this rally up through here, pullback 50% of that rally, and it picks up the continue up through there. So the retracement is looking after a strong rally for a pullback in the region of 50%. You can customize the criteria. Retracement properties. by setting the range. Maximum retracement 40 to 60, so we're looking at a range of around the 50 mark. You can change that, and we're looking at 45 period term. And again, all that can be changed. But it's looking for that retracement or that pullback and then the continuation from that point. Kirsten, how do I set a stop loss on a trade? There's not an indicator in here that shows where the stop loss sits. So we don't have an indicator that you can put on that trails the share price up as the share price moves higher. But what we do have is you can calculate off the level that you're at. So you can set a stop loss off the lowest price, and it's just a matter of working back from there. If you use just a trend line, and we can use a countback method quite easily, where we just take the lowest price over the last 3 or 4 or 5 days, and that's where our stop loss sits. So you can sit it there and then move it up. As the share price moves up, count back 1, 2, 3 days, and we move the stop loss up to here. So count back's very easily applied. Moving up to here, 1, 2, 3 days back, and here 1, 2, 3 days. 1, 2, 3. Stop loss keeps moving higher, and from here 1, 2, 3. So we're up through here, and then here. So 1, 2, 3. We're still moving higher at this point. And from here we've come down and we've possibly touched that day. We've drawn slightly high. Zooming in. So we'd still be above it on that day there, and then coming back the 1, 2, 3 days, the stop loss stays where it is because it doesn't move down to this low point. It just stays where it is, and then the share price moving up again. So each day cutting 1, 2, 3 back. Again, 1, 2, 3. We're at this level. 1, 2, 3. We're higher again. And 1, 2, 3. One more. And then as the share price starts to fall away, we keep counting back the 3 days. 1, 2, 3. We take the lowest point in those last 3 days, which is there. And we're now triggered out at this point. So that's one way to use a stop loss, is to actually use the countback method to follow it up. Is it possible to show the stop loss adjustment in the accounts section? Not. The portfolio manager is currently being worked on. There's a new portfolio manager coming out which will give more functionality in that area. But at this stage, it's not possible to show the price level. One of the tricks you could use is export the data out to Excel, and from Excel you could use it in Excel. So you can export any of your watch lists by going into the quote and export a watch list, and then you can paste that into Excel, and you could do it in there as a short-term fix. And you could do that as one way to do it. It's a possibility, Kirsty, one way to go about doing that. So are there any other questions around anything we've talked about here, or any other aspects of the program, any other pieces that you've come across and wanting to know how it works or how to make it work? we're just not early days, okay, Kirsty. So keep having a look around the program, obviously, and moving through it. We've just taken a little bit further with the charting today, where you can actually go with it and the different things that you can do in the charting. Suzanne, setting contingent orders for stops. The orders up here, you can set up your contingent orders in here, which are stop loss orders. Now, this account's not linked to live trade. They won't let me trade off it, being a demo account. So I can't show you specifically how to enter that. It is one thing we will be demonstrating later in the series, is exactly how to use the trader-dealer component of it. But at this stage I can't show you because I haven't got the functionality enabled in here to do it. But you've just got to set up your order and then the price level that you're wanting to enter that at. So that's one just Suzanne for setting up. If you've got any problems with that, again, give the trader-dealer team a call and they'll be able to help you set up that order. Brendan, can you save multiple layouts? At this stage, not at the moment. You've only can save one layout, but it is something that we're aware of and will be in one of the future releases. So at this stage, just the one layout, but you will in future release be able to save multiple layouts. Tess, how do I bring up charts for gold and oil? Easiest way to get this information is go into your watch list, scroll down to your system watch list and click on international markets. And in here you've got the basics of having a look around the world at the different markets. So we've got the major indices in here, including some of the major bond markets. There's also the spot gold price and there's currencies as well. So you've got spot gold in here. You've got various currencies as well. Under your help section, there's a list of database codes. And the database codes, you can look up what are the codes for particular shares as well. So if we're looking for crude, I've got Udo, thanks for that, lcrude.id is one way to bring that up. So crude oil, type in lcrude.id and we should now have crude oil in there as well. So that's brought up NYMEX light crude in there. So the test, that's how you get them there. Some of them are already in your international watch list. Others you can look up using the database of codes or the navigator. You can go for a search for different things through there as well. So that's another way to find those. Indicator triggered alerts. Well, not at this stage, Udo. It's something that we'll make a note of on the list of developments. So if an indicator is met, will we get the alert? Currently you can get the share price and you can also set up the alert for a set price level. It's just a matter of working out what price level would create the trigger on the indicator at the moment to do that. So there's a bit of mucking about rather than just setting it up. The other one is you've got the scanner and you've got the ability to scan for whether that criteria is met. So you can run a scan quite quickly and identify whether that indicator is triggered now. So you can run it after market open and say at lunchtime and before market close, and you'll pick up whether your indicator is being triggered using the scanning. Because the D2MX analyzer in here, the scanning capability is now based on the last traded price. So not on the closing of yesterday, but it's the last traded price, and you can use that to check whether the criteria has been met. But presently it's not dynamic, in other words it doesn't send you an alert when that is met. So that's something to take under advisement, thanks Udo, but you can certainly get there by running the analyzer quite easily. Brian, is there a facility to write my own indicators? Not at present. There's not the facility to create your own indicator. It's certainly just a matter of doing it in the programming language that's behind the program, but at this stage there's no way into that. So not at this stage, Brian, you can't create your own indicators. Suzanne, the futures codes, if you go into the help database codes where we were before, and over on the left here we've got database of codes, and down here futures, SFE options in there, and there's the Sydney Futures Exchange codes that are available. So that's the information in there. The other one is via your navigator. You've got various exchanges available on the international sector, which you can from an international markets, you can look up the futures codes as well. Live Forex intraday charts going to be available soon. Alan, not at this stage. We're not doing live Forex. All the overseas information is delayed. It's not live information. I think best probably to talk to the help desk. The functionality is not currently available, but whether it will be available in the future, I'm not sure on that one, but not currently available on that. Alan, the watch lists are live but not the charts. My understanding was that the data was delayed, but if the watch lists are live, that's a bonus. That's very good if they're coming through live. But the charts are pulled off the same data, so that's a little odd that they wouldn't. The watch lists and the charts were showing differently. Yeah, I'd suggest, Alan, you have a chat to the help desk on that specific issue. There may be a bug there if the charts are different to the watch list, because they should be fed off the same data. That seems a little strange to me that you're getting different readings. So have a chat to them on the help desk about that one, and we'll see if there is some bug in the system there. Okay, Jason, we'll have to come back to you on what the code is. APM2.SFE. So the APM June 12 by 200 futures are coming through. Which has got the price there. The YAPCM one now showing 42.65. The last traded price was 42.64 for the APM2. So we're certainly within the same ballpark. Like 1 point here could just be a rounding error. Chris, how do you maximize the intraday, say 10-minute chart to fill the screen? We come down to the data that you're loading, Chris. So if we go up and right-click, we'll go to intraday, right-click and go to chart properties, and intraday we want 10-minute period, and if you want more data you want to remove the intraday cap and just say no to the intraday cap, tell it OK, and now we've got more data on that, and we can zoom back and you'll see that there's more information loaded. The cap can limit the number of days or the number of periods that are loaded, and that way you don't get as much information. So that could be what's holding you up there. But if you remove the cap, you'll get the maximum data that's available for the time period that you're looking at. And it's about 2 to 3 weeks for 10-minute charts. So Jason's question there, APM2 SFE we've got in here, APM1.SFE. We'll push that across. Where is it? The APM1 is not SFE. Yeah, the APM1's not loading. APM2's coming across. HH1, is it? No. Jason, I suggest you go, APM2 is loaded, it's at the top of the screen, and open at 4306, the last is 4265. So if the order of these columns is confusing, we can move the order around. So the last is 4265, the open is 4306. And 4265 is in line with what YAPCM1 was showing. So it should be the right one. If you're still having problems with that, Jason, give them another call on the help desk and work through it. But it certainly is showing the right pricing according to my screen. APM1 appears not a valid symbol, but have a chat to them about it. Okay, well if there's no more questions, what we'll do is wrap it up there. Thank you very much for being part of this webinar tonight, or this afternoon. And it's great to have you all on board. And again, as you're working through the program, your feedback to us is valuable. Things like your questions and what you want to see in the program helps us with our development program going forward, and also helps us with the education program as well, because we get an idea of what it is that people need to know more about. So much appreciated for your time and your input today. It's been great to have you all here, and I'll catch up with you again tomorrow night. We'll take a look at some of the scanning functionality in the Market Analyser 7. So searching the market using the D2MX Analyzer, and that'll be Thursday evening at 6:30, so that's 6:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'll catch up with you all there. Just remembering, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, the help team are available till 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, and they're going to be there right throughout April, late on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. If you've got questions, give them a call. I wish you all successful trading.